Alright guys, I do want to start this video with one clear statement. I'm not telling you how you should build your engine or who you should have do it or how they should do it. This is simply how I'm doing a rebuild on this 5.4 engine of mine the cheapest way possible with a bunch of spare parts that I have laying around. I mean, spare pistons, previously used pistons that came out of the last engine. That's the head off the last engine. That's the head. There's a newer head sitting behind it and another one over in the other corner of the shop. And I just finished up the short block build, which I'm going to show you video of that here in a minute. So I just wanted that disclaimer. This is a ultra budget build. This is not me telling you this is the right way to do it. I'm cutting corners for cost, but I don't mind that because if it goes wrong, it's just my time that I'm out because I'm the one building it. This is about the fifth time I've rebuilt this engine probably, and it's not because of failure, it's because I've decided to change direction. Right now I'm going high compression from a low compression engine previously with a supercharger. Now I'm going high compression, naturally aspirate at first, and I'll probably go supercharged in the end. So, and I think I state that somewhere else in the video as well, probably too, but that's just the disclaimer I want to start with. So hope you enjoy the video. Okay guys, I've decided it's time to get back to the Mustang project, at least for a little bit. This is the week leading up to Thanksgiving, so I've got some stuff I got to do to prep for that, but I've taken some vacation time. I don't want to spend my vacation working, trying to make money. I want to try to actually get a project I enjoy and been wanting to get going out the door. I'd like to get this thing out of here at least, get it movable. So to do that, we're gonna have to put the engine back together. I'm gonna have to make some decisions. I mean, I've had parts piled up here: oil pan, intake tubes, clutch, alternator, front cover. Got some parts sitting on that cart. The other rims, T56, bell housing, stuff scattered. So this is a dual overhead cam, 5.4. This car's been that way for a long time. And now the key, I've built it a couple times, but I want to get it put back together here. This is probably the fourth time I've built this engine, and I'll go through some of the reasons later. The big key is, and it was the problem when I was trying to do some other stuff, is this bench is a mess. I've got one head here that came off the car, the other head there. This is and then behind it is a head with a newer head, or different head with it's got a set of oversized valves in it that I'll probably run. I'll probably end up pulling the cams out of this head and putting in that one maybe. And then I've been doing some work on the intake, opened up the runners. Not opened up the runners, but opened up this part of the runner right here. I'm actually going to put bigger runners in, and I'll get more into that too as to why. So got a lot of work. First things first, I got to get some crap cleaned up. This place is a mess, and it's been driving me nuts. And having all these Mustang parts makes it difficult to clean up. So the easiest way to clean it up is to get it all put back together. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to start cleaning this bench and show some of the short block going back together. Alright, first step I've got to get, these are an old piston on a forged rod. I actually have another block over in the back corner of the shop that has a standard bore in it. I was going to use these flat tops in that block, but somehow I've moved out here and ended up losing a piston. I don't know how that happens, but somehow in the move I lost the piston. So first thing, I'm gonna get one of these clips out. These little stock spring clips. Pop those up and just use a little pick. Some of them come out easier than others. I just cut my pick. That's aggravating. Using a bolt. I use these bolts. They come from the power company, out of these power poles that we get. If you'll notice on the end, it's kind of marred up. And it's got a nice little cone on the end. It actually fits right in here. And these are pretty well Chinesium. They are super soft. I mean, they might actually be softer than the aluminum I'm hitting. I have to buy a new pick. And as long as you're real gentle, you won't scratch up the rod bushing. So I got my 4 rods apart. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you. I've already got 4 installed. And the reason I've got to get on this, especially before it gets warm again, because it's cold right now. We're in November, near Thanksgiving. And an insulated shop is great, but it also has its negative in that it doesn't stay perfectly warm. It doesn't freeze in here, but it doesn't. It'll drop down to 40 if I'm not out here running the heat. So, and then when it gets warm, the air heats up a lot faster than this heavy steel does, so it surface rusts. And this is surface rusted. As you can see, it pretty well wipes away. There might be some minor pits in there, but I'm going to go ahead and clean it up and run it, but I can't let this thing sit here any longer. As you can see, I got 4 pistons installed, 4 rods, and then I ended up just getting busy doing other stuff. Didn't get back to it for a good while, and you can see it sat here and rusted, so it's time to get back to it. I will go into what I'm doing with the pistons. Like I said, these are stock diameter flat tops out of a 94 Mark 8, I believe. Those were possibly going to go in another block that was then going to go in the car. This is what came out of the car. These are diamond. Let's see, it came out of hole number 4. These are diamond forged 11.5 cc dish pistons, I believe, 20 over. The reason I pulled those out is I want to go higher compression. And this deck was out of true. And you can see it's even starting to surface rust slightly. And then the top edge of that hole right there has got some surface rust. So, a long time ago, I'd had this thing decked previously when I first built it a long time ago, and they told me one deck was out of true. Well, as I pulled it apart this last time with the piston still in it, I was probing what was left here at the top, the compression distance from the top of the deck to the top of the piston, both sides. And I found one deck was out of true by a good margin, almost 40 thousandths. So I took it to a different machine shop, had them true it up, take 40 off that other deck to true them back up. So I'm probably only going to have 80 thousandths sitting there. I think a stock 5.4 with a stock flat top is going to be 120 thousandths. So I'm going to be down to 80 now. So I'm definitely have to degree the cams in. And this is sort of a quick, cheap build. If you wonder why it's going together rusty and other things like that, this is quick and cheap. Get this thing back going, because I've got a lot of other projects going on. I can't. When I was younger, it was throw all the money I could at the car. And now that I'm older and realize that's just, I might as well be burning it in the fire to keep me warm. This is going to be quick and cheap. So this was a cylinder that looked horrible with the rust, and you can still see, if I get my phone light down there, some right at the bottom. I'm going to touch that with some emery cloth. The key is the rings never get down there, so even if that pitted that wall a little bit, it's not that big of a deal because the rings never run that far down in the bore. Now up here at the top is where there's concern, but you can see just a quick hone took all that away. There was no actual pitting anyway, so even just running over the spots in the deck with a piece of emery, probably even just like a Brillo SOS pad, will take all that away. You can see right here, it's just a little bit of rust right there. Little hone, knock that away. So, I mean, some people probably would have looked at what this looked like before and would have been really concerned and probably taken their engine back to be completely remachined and spend thousands of dollars. Like this area right here, so I get some light on it. It's really not concerning. I'll pan back out a little bit. You can see the light spot right here where the rings stop. So I mean, even if that pitted real bad, that's just the top of the piston sitting right there, slash compression distance that you don't close up to the head. So number one, sometimes things look a lot worse than they really are. You really got to pay attention to, is it going to affect the performance? If it's not where the rings ride, it's not going to affect the performance. So that's key number one, and even if it is, a light hone will usually take it out. I spent literally probably 15 seconds of just feathering this old drill with just a 3-blade deglazer. It's not even really they call them hones, they're really deglazers. So, and I ran the full length of the board to make sure I didn't screw the cross hatching up. I could still feel a little grit in there, so I'm gonna have to clean that grit out. But now that I'm happy with the bores, I know they'll clean up just fine. I'm gonna hit these mains real quick, and they had a coating of oil on them, and really, so I can feel the underside. The underside has no rust on it. It's just this top surface. So I'm gonna hit it with just a paper towel and see what comes off. Throw a little elbow grease at it. It is aggravating to have to do this. I mean, I actually put the time, I painted the block, I got this thing ready, and then other stuff just popped up and got in the way. Part of it I got sort of off the short block assembly because I was doing some work on the intake. And I got a little more interested in that, and I just sort of lost track of things. Let me go grab some emery and I'll pull off the tripod. So, I mean, just hitting it with a paper towel has gotten most of it. I do feel you can sort of see a little bit of raised spots there. The bearings definitely wouldn't like anything. They won't like anything raised. A depression won't really hurt a bearing. It'll actually be a spot that'll hold oil, so it's not the end of the world if you've got some slight pitting. Main key is take down any sort of raised protrusion that will wreak havoc on a bearing. So this is a piece of emery cloth. It's had some time on the lathe, so it's not real gritty. Make sure there's no little high spots there. And for any of you that are wondering why I haven't disassembled this entire block, everything that's assembled has assembly lube on it. So I'm not concerned about the stuff I got assembled. All those bores look real good. The pistons in there, I seem to have been able to keep the condensation out. You know, really, if it feels good to your finger, you're in good shape. Your fingers are, the dexterity of a human is very good, actually. This one really cleaned up so good you can't hardly even see anything. And then clean it up real good. And whether it's engine or hydraulics or anything, the key is keeping things clean that are going to be rotating. Other surface rust on these caps, I'll probably hit that with just a paper towel to knock the surface rust off. And in case you're wondering about emery cloth and how aggressive it is, I've ran things on the lathe with the lathe turning cloth around it, and I could never really get a noticeable change on a micrometer running emery cloths. Okay. I'm happy with that.